I'm gonna make
day,
some
I am
fried
so
fish and
glad
cabbage.
that you have been able to get my hair did. But I swear, between this rain and the rest of this stuff, I didn't even know who was going to make it in here today.
I know, girl. We had all kinds of complications. I was trying to rush here. Somebody hit the car.
You serious?
Yeah, they trying to make a left out of my community. Well, I was making a right out of my community. They was in the left lane, made a right turn.
Oh gosh, now they foolish.
Hit the front of the car. So my car is in the shop. I got a rental. Now the rental car needs to go in the shop. Wow. So transportation is what.
It sounds like fun. And this is an old thing because your car's in the shop
right now.
From the bad retro. Yes, from some work that wasn't properly done during the retrograde. Now I'm gonna say this, because you all know I'm always talking about Mercury retrograde, but this time of year is extremely potent because essentially since somewhere around early September we've had almost 3 retrogrades running simultaneously. So Venus went into retrograde on October 5th. And Venus really only goes retrograde one time of year, so you feel it in a really heavy way. So love relationships and things sometime around the beginning of October. Be that if you're broken up and you have some things that you need to readdress, or if you've had an issue with your husband or your longtime partner that's coming back up, you thought you dealt with it, those things were coming back up. They talked about that being the faded kind of space for relationships. Now, that was from October 5th to November 16th. November 16th, Mercury went into retrograde. So while Venus was in retrograde, there was that you were experiencing the Mercury retrograde shadow all through early November. So there were 2 retrogrades.
Wait, hold up. So you saying that the retrograde that happened in October with something with Venus, that's the one that you may have problems going on in love and relationships.
Definitely, yes, because Venus is the planet of love relationships. It's also the planet of beauty and makeup and artistry and all of those kinds of things. But Venus definitely deals with love relationships, how you see your partner, what kind of agreements you have. And since Venus retrogrades don't happen very often, you would feel them much more intensely. So by the time Mercury went into retrograde around November 16th, if something happened with Mercury retrograde, which deals with like communication and all of those issues, right, and if there was a communication issue with a boyfriend or a loved one, you probably felt it doubly because there were one planet had just gone into retrograde and one planet was going out of shadow and one planet was going into shadow. And when I say shadow, I mean this. When we say retrograde, it looks like a planet is, it looks like the planet, if you had a telescope, it looks like it's moving backwards in the sky. So, just before it starts that backwards motion, there's like this hue that it kind of leaves of energy. So, that's the shadow period, just before it starts to move backwards. Then, when it finally stops moving backwards and it starts going forward again, it usually passes over the same areas that it might have passed over 2 or 3 weeks before. So sometimes stuff that you dealt with 2 or 3 weeks ago, when the energy goes direct, you begin to start experiencing. You were like, didn't I just have this issue? People who've been getting their car. So many people have gotten their car fixed right now during the Mercury retrograde, and then they have to get it repaired again because the work was shoddy.
I have no power.
And because something goes wrong with it once Mercury goes direct. So we had Venus and Mercury in retrograde. Mercury retrograde only ended on December 6th. Well, we're still in the shadow.
So Mercury in retrograde means bad fucking luck.
Mercury in retrograde doesn't necessarily mean bad luck. It means that things around transportation, around communication, around technology, around like getting on the bus, the train, your car, all of those things, they can go They can start going backwards. So I think of Mercury retrograde like Murphy's Law. Sometimes people feel like anything that can go wrong will go wrong, which is really just I plan to be able to leave on time and I can't leave on time. I planned to get where I was going without any incident and somebody turns into me from a lane where they're not supposed to, which I never could have imagined.
Mm-hmm.
You know, those kinds of things. So I'm always suggesting to people that Mercury in retrograde is really like a call from the universe
To slow
down and just go with the energy.
Mm-hmm.
Lots of people, shoot, I'm thinking about it. You can have so many people get mad because they're waiting for a package during Mercury in retrograde, and they're gonna try to get pissed off at the daggone vendor simply because the package didn't come when they said, "Am I in control?" Thank you. Am I in control? Am I in control of mail? No. I am not in control of mail, and I wouldn't make you wait for fake things. But that's beside the point. People get really frustrated because the plans that they set out don't go the way that they wanted them to. I'm of the mind that if you begin to track on your own personal astrological calendar when this is coming in, this is when you lighten up. This is when you know I'm going to make plans and God is going to laugh. So I'm not going to be too attached to my plans. This is when I'm going to think I have everything figured out, and that man who makes me weak in the knees is going to show back up and try to test my gangster. And figure out whether or not I'm going to be a retrosexual or not.
Say something in this church.
Am I going to fall? Am I going to be dignitized this time? Or am I going to win the war on crime and drugs and being sad and lonely after the fact? You know, that's just what I look at it as. So some people, exactly. It's a cycle. Mercury retrogrades happen about 3 to 4 times a year. You can count on a Venus retrograde about once a year. Now, simultaneously,
that's too many times a year.
It is. We're still in a retrograde. We're in Uranus retrograde. Uranus retrograde started in September.
Well, I'm pissy.
And exactly, and it doesn't end until January 6th of 2019.
So what does that retrograde mean?
So Uranus really deals with also technology, but it also deals with unexpected events that pop up in your life. Think about the second half of the year. Have you had a bunch of unexpected money woes?
Yes, my account being overdrawn by $198.
These are things, but you know what? It happens to all of us. Like Mercury and Venus, they're inner planets. So they are planets that move at the same time as the Earth, like within close enough to a 365-day cycle where you feel them in a year. It takes Uranus like, I'm going to misquote exactly what it is. I'm going to have to look up. But Uranus is going to be in Taurus, which it just moved into, for probably the next 8 years. So one time a year it's going to go retrograde. And it's going to go retrograde across different degrees. So it'll finally make it, as it's making its way through the planet. But planets like Neptune and Uranus and and Pluto, they move really slowly. So all of us will feel them at the same time because they call them generational planets. So kids who are born around the same time all feel that. So we are experiencing some of those things collectively, but you're going to experience Venus much more in your own personal life. Yes, you're going to experience Mercury, like my internet crash. My wireless is down.
I like when you
my telephone don't work.
I like when you
exactly.
I like when you
talking to my boyfriend, like some stuff me and my boyfriend dealt with back in February. That's just gonna pop back up again right now. When I thought I already had it.
So how do we get through these retrogrades?
Well, one thing that I would definitely suggest is that everybody kind of subscribe to some form of an astrological calendar, just so you know. You can always check out at 8th House Wisdom, because I will keep you updated for when.com, where you can figure out when things are coming. But this is a natural time. If you need to go underground, re-envision what you want to look like, research some new things, plan to do it now. Don't get super attached to ideas that you have during a retrograde. It's just not going to work. So if you don't want to feel frustrated or like the world is against you, then consider this like a quarterly review in business. In business, every quarter,
starting a new shit.
Exactly. Every quarter, they check their books and they come up with a new strategy. Yeah. Consider this the universe's way of telling you to pull it in, check your books, and then when it's done, that's when you decide to start something new. Otherwise, you're going to be pissed off.
Oh, yeah.
That's
Fuck these retrogrades.